Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Ebony Janice. I go by Ebony Janice, which means that you should call me Ebony Janice. We know this by now. And it's Thursday, and it's a Preach Eb. It's a hip-hop sermon, and I'm talking about the fact that a seat at the table was a whole theology of rage and rest. And I think that's really dope now that I'm, fleshing it out this way, that this one album was thinking what seemingly is opposite ends of the spectrum, but it's not. Anyways, I'm preaching a seat at the table today. I don't think we ever fully said what the record fully was. We called it an album. It was a sermon. It was a whole theology dressed up as soul. But the text was rest and rage. It was preaching it. Here's what the church did to black women. It taught us that the two most human things we have are sins. It taught us anger is a sin, be slow to wrath, keep sweet, all these things. And then it taught us that idle hands, like you don't work, you don't eat. So we grew up believing the two things our bodies were begging us to feel, fury and fatigue, were both evidence that something was wrong with our spirit. And then here comes Solange. She makes a song called Mad, and she doesn't apologize for it. She makes a song called Weary, and she doesn't dress it up. She's not performing okay. She is telling you she is tired in her bones, and that has given her a right to be mad. And we almost miss it that these two things are in conversation with each other. I think that's the genius of it, because the seat at the table, I don't know what table we thought she meant, but perhaps the seat was just actually sitting down. Perhaps this is also a conversation about softness. When I talk about our deeply seated self, I always talk about the fact that Toni Morrison is one of my softness archetypes, but I actually posted, remember last year, towards the end of the year, we were all posting like our board of directors. One of my board of directors is Solange. I feel like she was in those pictures, but Solange is definitely in my board of directors because she is definitely one of my softness archetypes as it pertains to like a contemporary, like my age mate or, someone similar age to me. That watching her work and play and work and play and work and play and do that deep work. And I have historically used A Seat at the Table and then her next album, When I Get Home, which came out several years later. And I talk about the fact that there's a song called Being Weary of the Ways of the World on A Seat at the Table. And then by the time we get to the next album, When I Get Home, the first song is Saw Things I Imagine. And so when I workshop this, I always ask the question, what do we imagine? We use our spiritual imagination. What do we imagine Solange was doing between being weary of the ways of the world and seeing things she imagined? What was happening between those albums? And then we use our spiritual imagination to just kind of run down a list of things that we think was happening. She was probably getting therapy. We know for sure she got a divorce. We know that she was possibly praying, maybe smoking some weed, maybe, twerking on a yacht, maybe, taking vacations, maybe spending more time with her family, spending more time with her son, creating something new, right? And so we develop and cultivate this whole big long list. And inside that list is absolutely feeling her rage, closing some doors, being honest with herself and with her family and those that are close to her about what she's feeling and what's going on with her. And also breaks. Solange is so notorious for her softness and her seatedness that now you can't even see Solange with somebody else without somebody making the assumption that she's out there performing rituals. Meanwhile, they could just be hanging out because we are clear that Solange loves to work and rest and work and rest. That's the way that she has set her life up. And so the idea that A Seat at the Table wasn't just about a table, that A Seat at the Table was really telling also a call for black women to actually have a seat. Sit down. Because the way that we could process being weary of the ways of the world and that this is for us and that, we saw that we got a lot to be mad about and we got a right to be mad about it, right? The way that we could process that is by actually taking a seat, getting into our fully seated selves, which is language that I always use when I talk about softness, getting into our fully seated selves. And then from there, once we talk about that, imagine the next thing that she produces is Saw Things I Imagined. Preach up.